Out. Okay, Harry?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Liz and Debbie. Okay, we're out on public level, we're in non-public, no votes were taken, we discussed personnel issue. Contract. Okay. All righty, so the next on our agenda, we have, do you want to switch right to the?
If we could go right to the COVID, I think that would be helpful.
For Melissa, okay, Melissa has had a busy day, so we're gonna have, hey, with everybody, we're gonna move that to the next on the agenda.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. As you see, I know our numbers up a bit. Yesterday, I think we had between 15 and 20 staff out, not all of them. But today, I think it was at 16. Our student attendance rate, again, not all COVID. I imagine that this week some was due to the temperatures. Last week it had been up around 92%, but it's 80% today. You'll see that the number of students, the current positives, I think that's the highest number that you've seen. And I do want to add that I heard from a number of individuals, 3 parents and a number of faculty members that have asked me to convey to the board request that we reconsider the masking. So we reconsider the masking as universal precaution as recommended by the CDC and the NHS, but also consider and be open to isolated groups where we may have an outbreak. Excuse me, a cluster. But I would want to mainly turn it over at this point to Marissa, who, as you know, is our lead on the COVID, and she's been very aware of the changing rules and then make some changes, as my note said. Turn it over to you, Marissa.
Thank you. Please keep reminding me to speak up. I need the reminders. So I would also like to do a thank you, particularly to Jamie Clark, and also to Virginia Clark, our school nurse, who's done a phenomenal job. We're very fortunate to have her. And I appreciate it. She's very even. She's very good with all ages of kids. So it's been a wonderful year. As you know, the CDC guidelines changed last week, and DHHS updated their guidance based on the CDC. They didn't follow it exactly, but fairly close. They followed the guidance, and so we're in the process of implementing that as it pertains to isolation and quarantine. Quarantining meaning you've had contact, but you're not positive. Isolating meaning you're positive. So those are changes that are underway. As you know, we're at 7 clusters. 7 clusters. 3 buses, 2 classrooms, 2 grades. So that's the highest we get. 2 clusters equal a outbreak. So school is considered to be an outbreak. You only need 3 cases within 14 days to be a cluster. So, we are definitely at the highest numbers we've been at since the start. I doubt that's a surprise to anyone given Omicron, which I transmission rate. So that, that's pretty significant. We have changed some mitigation factors here already. And as John said, one mitigation factor for us to consider is a universal mask. So, mitigation factors we've already upped are things like we are back to counting out spaces, so we're at least 3 feet apart, if not 6 feet apart. In some classrooms, we're back to depth instead of tables. In the younger grades, they're measuring out 3 feet, putting tape so that they could still use that circle line, but much further apart. Anytime there's a cluster, those kids are at 1 table for lunch, because again, that's a high transmission activity. So we're hoping that that doesn't increase, that reduces cross contamination rate across positivity, more transmission.
Clarify that. So the kids that are in the classroom with this cluster, when they have lunch, you're keeping them together, so they're not going to other classrooms.
So they're still going to the cafeteria, but they have their assigned table. So for instance, today at the assigned table, they're not intermixing among other second graders. And they're not intermixing, if that cafeteria has multiple grades, they're not intermixing grades. So we've done those mitigation factors. We're really amping up the hand sanitizing, washing our hands, things like that. But as you know, we don't have a universal mask, even when we have a cluster or an outbreak of this. And CDC has really amped up their encouragement that schools adopt a universal vaccine given Omicron. So just given the high transmission of it, as many of you may know, the transmission, the virus they release is more than nasal passages, and that's why the transmission is that much higher. Anecdotally, I hear from parents, and kids, and employees that they will have one minor symptom, and then a day or two later, they have a full-blown COVID. And usually that symptom is something that's easily attributed to something else. So, oh, I have migraines, or we eat with a wood stove. This time of year, I always have a little bit of a scratchy throat. So it's very subtle. So it's, you know, they don't always think to test the food. And so again, that would increase the transmission.
I'm hearing about a lot of cases that even when you're primarily symptomatic, you're testing negative. And as you're coming out of it is when you get your positive test. So you think it's something else for a couple of days. I have a stomach flu. And you're getting your positive test.
All the tests are just a snapshot of that, of your viral load that day. So that the rounds aren't as sensitive in picking up your viral load with the PCR. And it's hard to get tests. So it's very hard for families to get tests. So just kind of discuss it a little bit. I can speak to the differences in isolation, quarantine guidelines, and how we're adopting it. Sure. So the isolation has changed. Am I loud enough for you guys? No.
I don't think anybody can hear you on the screen, but I think we can barely hear you. Yeah.
Okay. It's hard.
We can move the microphone closer for this part, because,
We have a mic. Oh,
yeah.
So, again, sorry, quarantine or close contact.
So as with before, it's if you are a close contact in the household, right? A household close contact. You qualify for quarantining if you are not up to date in your vaccination. So if you've had your primary series but not your booster and you're eligible for your booster, then you would need to quarantine still, right? So that's a big change. It used to be that if you had, as long as you were vaccinated, you didn't have to quarantine, but now you need to be up to date, which includes boosters. Another piece is that household contact, the definition has, I think, been a little broader, so that it can be even if you are temporarily a household member, right? So it doesn't have to be the person lives with us all the time, but the person was with us this weekend, or the person is in my house 2 or 3 hours a day doing caretaking, things like that. So it's a little bit broader. So more people are going to fall into that quarantining category. However, they are lessening the requirements for how long you stay in quarantining. So on day 5, if you continue to have no symptoms, you test, and you are able to wear a well-fitting mask, you may return for days 6 through 10. So that's quarantining.
That, right?
Yes, well-fitted mask. Yeah. If you choose not to be tested, can't find a test, choose not to be masked, can't wear a mask, you do the full 10 days of quarantining.
So when are they starting day 1 from, if you're not testing, just from first day symptom?
No, quarantine is if you don't have a symptom.
Oh, okay, so then it was,
It's exposure.
oh, just exposure, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yep. Then isolating is when you when you've tested positive. Okay. So isolating, it's a little bit more complicated as far as when they're lessening it. So if you are fever-free for 24 hours off fever reducing medication. Your symptoms are improving, and not just like slightly improving, but on the way to being pretty much gone. And you are otherwise well enough to be at school. So for instance, if you've thrown up, we don't want you within 24 hours of coming back here. If you are constantly sneezing all over someone, if you are absolutely exhausted, if you are, if you're otherwise sick, you should still stay at home. If you can wear a well-fitting mask and you meet all the other criteria, then you can come back for days 6 through 10. Yeah, and it's not an all or nothing. So there might be some people, staff and students, who aren't well enough to come back on day 6, but they're well enough to come back on day 9 or 8. So it's not an all or nothing. It does require a lot more work for Jamie and I, because we're going to have conversations with families and tease that out. It's not as simple as it was before, where we would just say you come back on day 11. This is day 11, we'll see you then. It does put more work on the teachers in the sense that we'll be notifying them of students who need to be wearing well-fitted masks. And they're going to need to do some monitoring of that. And it does, those students will stand out a little bit more when they return wearing the masks. We certainly are not going to call their attention to it. But it will become more obvious to peers over time. So those are the big changes. I don't know if you want to clarify anything I said or
Oh, thank you, Melissa.
questions. So in addition, the other mitigating measures we're talking about is we're no longer having like all the kindergartens get together and do something, or the 8th graders come down and they're a buddy for 3rd grade. We are no longer doing that kind of cross activities. So
do you think that if there's a cluster classroom, I guess I still feel that if everybody is eating in the cafeteria at the same time, even if you're at a different table, I just don't, why are we keeping the kids that class in the classroom?
staffing,
What was that?
staffing,
Staffing? Okay.
that's what it comes down to.
So what are people thinking? I'm hearing about masks, so I'm not ignoring it. I want to hear people's input.
Sure.
I mean, the cluster part, I can understand that if there's a cluster in the classroom, that seems to be like a temporary issue, temporary measure. I know. I'm thinking maybe we could require masking for a while until things start to plateau for the entire population. Yeah.
So you've had 15 to 20 staff out this week on various days. Where is your we can't do this? I mean, there are school districts in
Yeah.
the state who are not in school this week because they don't have the staff to run the schools. And these are big places. Nashville is closed for 3 days. Other schools have closed, lots of Massachusetts schools. So where's our point with that?
There isn't a point because it depends on who it is.
Okay.
So if there were 15 classroom teachers out, we would have trouble doing that.
Right.
And so what we've agreed to do, Melissa, Danielle, and I, have been meeting and discussing where we are every day this week. That's not good enough because we need to know who's called in. And so we are establishing a 6 a.m. Zoom call for the 3 of us to get together and see who and where they are. So I don't think anybody wants not to be in.
No, I get that. I don't get
Right, but so we'll have to just look at it on a case-by-case basis. If you think that every day has got a slightly different configuration of 15 people or a dozen people. I mean, if it's the right 10 people would potentially push us over.
And I think the other issue is not just, it's okay, that
Louder.
the other issue, thank you, Erica. The other issue is not only staffing, but the transmission. So at a point at which maybe we have a cluster in every grade, that's a whole, even if we have the staffing, that's also a conversation. I think, it's both things that I think have to be weighed.
Yeah, we looked at timeframes, we looked at potentially recommending, or making a closing for a period of time. A certain time and you know, we shot away from that because we don't want to close. We know what remote does.
Does
Not
help.
good, not good for kids, not good for teachers, in my opinion.
And I think the more mitigation factors we can use, the more likely it is we can stay in person.
I agree with you about that. The more that we can do for men instead. We want the kids to do, for sure. That's what we want. So, you know, it's temporary type of mitigation.
We've listened to the teachers also. Melissa, we had a faculty meeting today and it was by Zoom. And Melissa was there to speak about COVID and the current situations. And teachers brought up some interesting situations. You know, one of our teachers said, you know, in the upper grades where kids switch classes, how can I guarantee that that child will have a mask on all of the time? If he or she's, you know, 1 out of 4 in my class. So it puts additional pressure on the teachers as well.
Mhm.
And believe me, they don't need any additional pressure right now.
The other
It's tough. I'm sorry,
no,
Melissa.
I'm sorry. Ken. The other mitigation factor I think we should talk about is SAS testing. So there are SAS testing,
Fast.
SAS.
SAS, the program, the state program, it's the SASS, SAS.
So we have 2 SAS programs in place right now. So we have the one where you're symptomatic and you come in and Nurse Clark does the rapid test. And she administers it and obviously she can see the results in 15 minutes. The second one is the one that we started right before the holiday break, which is that if we are in a cluster or an outbreak, parents can sign their children up and we will do a PCR test that I drop off at Convenient MD. So again, Jamie does the swabbing, but Convenient MD does the results. And then another one would be where we offer to families if they'd like to opt in. And if they'd like to opt in, that whatever pool of people we have, we would test approximately 25% of those 1 day a week, every week. So we would get 100% of those over a month. And that would be proactive. So that would be catching people before we have a cluster, before we have an outbreak. And, you know, given our size, depending on how many people sign up for it, we might even be able to up that percentage. So we might even be able to do more than 25%. Again, that would be through Convenient MD. They would provide the tests and they would do the results. They would run the samples. Jamie would do the swabbing. So we've only done it twice now, but I think we're getting to a better rhythm of being able to do that and doing that more efficiently.
Would that opt-in testing be PCR or rapid?
PCR.
That would be PCR. I'm
Yep.
sorry, you said,
No, I didn't. I don't think I did. It's a great question.
and that's a couple day turnaround.
Yes. Yep. So the people that we swabbed on the 23rd, they got the results on the 24th.
On the 21.
We swabbed some kids on the 23rd of December and they got their results Christmas Eve. They got it on the 24th. So everything is slowing down, but Convenient MD has told me that they're purchasing more machines to do the results. I don't know what you'd call it, of the tests. So they would be able to keep up with the demand. They're just not able to staff it. So they could provide the tests, they could do the results, but they can't come in and staff it.
So are you asking us?
Well, you considered it before and declined it. So I guess I'm not sure if I want to, if it's a vote or if it's just an
I think we're
informational.
putting these things on the table for your consideration.
I'd like to know how many kids in a class creates a cluster? What is a cluster?
So our cluster is 3 or more linked within 14 days.
Then 14.
Yep. Yep. So, you know, obviously can be more, and in some of these it is more. But at minimum, it's 3. And then it's, once you have 2 clusters, you're considered an outbreak. 2 clusters that again aren't linked.
Our reopening plan from August is essentially policy. And that is where we have listed 10-day quarantine in isolation, if I'm not mistaken. So I think to go with the new DHHS guidelines, that would require a motion, and we'd have to update that reopening plan.
So, oh,
We plan to update the reopening plan, Eric, but the DHHS and Department of Ed have taken their school guidance, school toolkit off, and they're revising it. So I was waiting until we got the revision, hoping that we could jump ahead and get on board with it now. But I would bring a revision to you as soon as I get the guidance from those folks.
So
John,
are you concerned that people might come back like within 5 days or day 6 when they still might possibly have symptoms? Is that what you're
Well,
worried?
that's a possibility, but I brought that up procedurally, just so we're following, just so if we're gonna change it, we at least address that it's gonna be changed.
John, can you clarify for me? I thought that the opening manual was a procedure as opposed to a policy that needed to be voted on by board.
We voted.
Well, they did, yeah, they did adopt,
Okay,
so it does have
Okay.
the force of policy.
okay.
I think at this point, we're gonna be living with it. We have to accept that it's here at this point. It's just not going anywhere anytime quickly.
So I just moved back to the last stage. So with the, I hear what you're saying was the short period of time, the groups with the clusters, I guess is what I'm focusing on. If there's a cluster in a group, I could see like a short period of time to possibly where to say make it mandatory, not to make a mandate for people, but if that is something that would keep the rest of the class safe, but it seems to me that it's going to be one of those things where it's inevitable because it seems like it is so it's so contagious that people are going to get it no matter what we do.
Yeah, and when I say live with it, I just don't mean
Right.
deal with it. It's here. I think at this point, I would support an opt-in testing for people if everybody else feels that way, everybody else feels. And as far as the masking, it's optional. How much more mask wearing are you seeing optional on a day-to-day basis?
I don't know that I could speak to it in the last 2 days because I don't think I've gone from more than my office to Jamie's office back to my office again. But I would say before that, I think the masking is still fairly low. I will say that there was a one cluster right before the holiday break. And like I emailed, I think 2 days in a row that the number of the kids in the cluster went up. And the next day that it was probably 80%, 90% masking in that classroom.
Do you let the teacher or the parents in that class know that there's a cluster in the
Yes,
class?
yes.
So could we say there's a cluster in that classroom? They're strongly recommending your child wear masks.
So I pretty much do that already.
Do.
I mean, I think some of you get that. I think, yeah. So it does say the DHHS recommendation is to wear a mask.
I would just like to say that CDC does have the power to force masking on everybody. It's what they've done with the public transportation. That's why the kids are required to wear masks on the school buses. That's why people were not evicted from their apartments last year. It was a CDC mandate and did that. So they do have the power. Right now, they currently strongly recommend it. And that's what I'm willing to say. I'm willing to strongly recommend it, but I'm willing to require it from people.
The clusters, I mean, rather than the entire school, the cluster in the classroom, I mean, and they say that really, in order to keep the rest of the children safe in that classroom, since it's already spread, that children should wear masks that next day or 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Or 10 days, like for 10 days. And give them the dates. where they should start wearing masks. Stated in that way that they should be doing this.
So I feel like that happens already. Yeah. Because it does say the CDC says recommendations are this. So, and it does list every time one of them is wearing a mask. Indoor. So, I don't think that I don't think there's gonna be any change in mask wearing. If I word it any slightly different, I think it's fairly strong now. I mean, I don't receive them myself, so parents who receive them might feel that I need to be stronger in the language, but I'm literally talking to you.
I just find that interesting. That people that are not deciding that they vote. They just assume that they get it.
What, I don't know. I don't know what that, that, family would.
I don't have kids that told that. But the pressure on kids wearing friends. 12, 13 years old, your friend's not wearing a mask.
Right.
I mean, it's really very difficult, different.
And it also could be that the family defames them to wear the mask when they get to school, and when they get to school, they don't wear the mask. And it's hard for a teacher to police which kids parents are saying these are.
I teach you parents. I think probably the younger grades, parents are telling. Right. Maybe like. Right. I don't know. I mean, nobody wants to wear the mask. I would support a short term for cluster. If we have to make that mandatory, that would keep it running. I don't know if it will, because kids are kids and they're eating at the same table, the masks are off. They're all gonna get it. If they're all sitting at that table together and they have the mask on eating, I just don't see how they're not. You know what I mean?
So to keep in mind is that viral load and the longer that's exposed to the viral load. Right?
And I would support masking in general. I think I've made that pretty clear in the past. Certainly for clusters, I don't want anybody to get sick. I don't want us to be forced into a remote situation, and I think we need to be upfront about that possibility, and that possibility can happen overnight. And are we gonna look back on a Friday and say, well, gee, if we had started masking on Tuesday, we might have been able to stay open for the next week. And now we might not, because we have, I mean, we're already at 20% of the kids out, but I understand not all of that is COVID, but we've got to assume a vast majority is. We've got to assume the vast majority of the 20 staff who are out was somehow COVID related, whether they had it or I have a headache today, I shouldn't go in, practicing what we've asked them to practice. So, I mean, I think it's a real possibility that that discussion would have to be had, at least. Are we at that critical mass? And if the inconvenience, and I think everybody can agree it's an inconvenience of a mask that has been proven to be effective is going to forestall that possibility, I'm 100% in favor, because I think the kids need to be in the building.
So what if we did something like, and I have something option mask, so what if we did something like, from, well, here's what I was hoping, but from Tuesday to the next board meeting, open the information. And try mask. Not the school days, and so it gets us through like today. I don't think we can make a decision, everybody's wearing masks tomorrow. Give people notice and time to talk to the kids to make sure they have the masks again. Some people may not even have the masks, find masks. So if we said Tuesday.
The numbers then,
Yeah, January
that's true.
18th, January 18th the board will then meet on January 26th to reevaluate those and determine if it's going to go on from this point.
I like that, but I think it's reasonable to say that, I personally think it's reasonable to say start tomorrow, but very reasonable to say start on Friday. I'm guessing there are boxes of masks.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we commonly hand out masks for the kids to get on. So we certainly would have a day's supply. I don't know that we have a week's supply. We certainly would have a day's supply to, so any, crowd would have a mask on Friday or tomorrow.
Right, I mean, they can't have gotten rid of their masks if they're riding the bus.
Right.
They all have. Are we an outlier as far as other local school districts?
I went today to Nottingham and Northwood's websites, and I was just thinking, Nottingham bus was super much higher than us. They did go to short. Epsom was very high last week, and they back to us. So
Dover's had to combine bus runs, because we have so many bus drivers out, so kids are getting to school later because buses have to go back out again. There's so many bus drivers out.
So
I just want to add that I was in contact with Headmaster Smith, that the program is not that so bad right now. But he mentioned their regularity of meeting to assess the situation. And certainly masking is part of the conversation with them.
On the other thing with Hill Ground, they're only in the same space 45 minutes, roughly. You know, and they're going outside a lot. They're, so they're sending out weather warnings Monday night. Your kids are moving between buildings, make sure they have a hat and gloves. So they're getting a lot more outside time than typically might happen in this building, especially on Tuesday.
I was just gonna think of something else. If for some reason, even if we try this for, say, if we were to start Friday and then reevaluate it on 26th at our next meeting. And I personally would like to say, if we can get over this hump right now, get.
Yes, I think this is the key.
And this would be like, a 10-day period, not like that.
I think so. The next meeting is a reasonable time.
I do too. But I also feel like if for some reason, say we had 20 teachers out next week, I would say we need to take a hard look at February for everybody, because if remote learning, we're seeing when we look at test scores and WeWa scores, how our kids have had such learning. Remote learning does not help children. So, and if teachers are sick and they're out, how are they going to be doing the remote learning anyway? So at that point, then we say, we need to look at February vacation. And
Well, and maybe if we put that out there, that we might go back February vacation, that will encourage people to be upping their game and wearing more masks and using more mitigation if they know that that's on the table.
Yeah, I think the one concern I would have about that is that would that put too much, would people want to be here more often, even when they're sick and not, if they have a symptom and be as cautious as they are now, if they think that would get them to have their February vacation?
for the kids,
Primarily kids.
yeah, I mean,
A lot of families have plans.
right, right. I don't think, I think it's, we wouldn't cancel school because of kids, we cancel school with teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a staffing issue. And I mean, if someone gets sick, they're sick. What are you gonna do?
Right, and I think we still also want to make sure that we're emphasizing that when you're sick, stay home.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who write politics and like, it's just a little.
No,
Yeah.
it starts as simple.
Yeah.
All right, so I know people aren't going to agree with this, and I hate to do it. But I do think that in order to make sure that we keep the kids in the building, just because we seem to be at a very high peak right now,
I think this is the peak. I think you're right.
if we
Whatever
can
you-
get through, we say we're just gonna start Friday, I prefer to say what you're saying Friday. We can't do, try to get as many people, yeah, I mean, that's not realistic, it's 8 o'clock. It should be that. So, and then, strongly say this is unless the numbers are dramatically increased, asking it actually work, and, reevaluate it, but I mean,
Sure, on the 26th, yeah.
what are you thinking, I'm still please share.
I was gonna say reevaluate, I would say at this point, make it to expire on the 26th. And then reapproach it. If that's what we feel.
I think it expires on 27.
So are
We
we,
have to have a meeting.
right. Are you looking to go for everybody and not just clusters?
Well, it seems like we have 7 clusters, which are 7 classrooms. So that,
It's more than there.
So it's 3, buses, it's 2 classrooms, 2 grades, and tomorrow we could up that. Now, I still have a process, all of it through a process today, one of those completions of cluster. Not to mention kids who might be positive, sorry, or kids who might be positive tomorrow or stuff. So,
Right. When will
You know,
you get
it's
the
awful.
PCR test that you just dropped off?
I'm sorry,
The PCR was symptomatic testing?
asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic, oh, okay.
One
Never mind.
symptomatic.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
Drive up.
okay, so, and we're gonna have to vote on this motion, but if you want to say, Friday the 14th, start, it would expire as of now, January 22nd, 27th, and that would be unless the board at the 26th meeting had enough evidence to extend it. And I think you're right, we need to have a date that it expires, so, no, we're not saying that's forever. This is
Right.
just to get
So
through,
until you enter school on the 27th?
yes. And if for some reason on 26th, if we're not going to just go up dramatically,
Well, there'll be other issues.
What if they naturally go down because we're peaking and it's burning out?
Right.
And, you know, that's,
right, maybe then it's
We hope that this is the peak, right? We don't know, okay, next week, is the peak, but we're excited about peak based on what we've done.
What do you think, Carrie?
I like that idea.
No, if, yeah, something we may have to do. If for some reason this extends,
I didn't hear this, sorry, but
I think we should. On the February school.
that may.
Oh, you mean moving it and a break instead of waiting for 2? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's a
Oh, plan a break early. Interesting.
Well, Brown has found for years that that's the peak of flu season. And so they use that to sanitize and disinfect the whole building. Because that is right at the peak and everyone's set to spend February vacation.
That's what I thought you were originally saying when you talked about February vacation, just either extending it or moving it.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do that without input. We gotta see who has plans, who's not, you know.
I can't, parents are going someplace, it's a different thing, it's. I mean, parents have. Tickets, but it just can't understand. And they just bring one with them.
We just have to say remote learning doesn't work. I mean, it's that sort of
Choice. And when it felt that was, I think it's, everything was changing so quickly, I don't think we can. Right. And then it just about that, right?
That's an interesting thought to make it a planned vacation instead of taking the risk.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so. We want to make a motion about that, so we have it. Just said,
I move that we require masking starting on Friday, the 14th, to expire at the beginning of the school day on the 27th, unless there is evidence to the contrary at the board meeting on the 26th.
okay, discussion, well, I think it was a mandate, I know that's very hard thing to do, but I think it's also trying to make sure that we don't, maybe if it helps, don't know if it's going to work, but if it works. I just, yeah.
I like the idea of the reassessment on the reassessment no matter what, no, I'm sorry, I think it just worded it like
Is it
in light
unless-
of evidence.
So is it unless there's, it would expire on the morning of the 27th unless there's evidence to the contrary, the 26th of that meeting.
Okay, yes, all right.
Sorry if I worded that.
No, it was fine, it's fine. It will be reassessed on the 26th.
Okay, right? Yeah, looks like that's what we're gonna, it's like, you know, anything, it is okay, it is what we're gonna, let's people vote against, so, all right. Let's, okay, Karen? No. Eric?
Oh,
Erica?
Yes.
Just, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and just because I, for the sequels, just for a short period of time. Okay, so I go for it. All right,
And,
so,
the other two issues that I think are still on the table, the question of the SAS and opting into the sampling test protocol.
and that is her parent choice.
Yeah, if people wanted to.
This whole option. So this is random testing. And it's for asymptomatic, your child will be randomly tested if you want them to be randomly tested for asymptomatic testing.
Yeah, I mean, we can debate about the word randomly because it's only of those people that opt in.
Right.
But yeah,
But it's random, yeah, as far as.
yes, so we would probably do like an every Monday or every Friday, we would follow the plan, but we would know which kids were.
That's right. That's right.
but everybody would have it once a month.
Of those people who opt in.
Make a motion, somebody wants.
All right, I move that we opt into that SAS testing program for people, families who wish to opt in, random testing.
Right, second, okay, who's discussion?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can't give you a vote, but to be.
parental
They would
permission.
have to sign up, actively sign up.
Right.
Not, again, in a minute.
So, they have to sign up, they have to agree to have a child randomly tested.
All the parents.
Nor are we illegally, we're just going to say this is a program, we'd like the child to participate, there's destination.
Okay, Eric? Eric,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Debbie?
And the last time I wondered about making the adjustment now, in terms of our reopening plan and changing the quarantine to match with what the state is now recommending. Eric is correct that the period is off the reopening plan, so it's not the force of policy. I would like to go ahead and make the adjustment now, but bring you a full plan after we get the guidance from the state.
Okay. Could you clarify exactly what we're changing?
So there is what they call health alert network, that tells us exactly what the changes are, they're in regards to isolation and quarantine. There are rules about isolation and quarantine. That's all of it.
Okay, so it's basically going from the 10 days. That's the big thing parents are going to take away, from the 10 days to the 5 days. If the child is asymptomatic, I mean, their staff can figure out the family, but for children, parents, they're going to make sure from day one, if their child tests positive, the day that the test is positive, they're going to count 5 days. If on the 6th day, the child has no symptoms at all, without fever medication, fever reducing medication, their child can go back to school with a mask.
Well, it is that, yes, but it won't be like just come back on May 6th. Jamie and I will be having a conversation to figure out what is, happening at the period, but essentially, yes. As far as isolation, it's a little bit different, and that would be that having symptoms at on day 5, continue to have an iota of symptoms, and come back with a well-fitted mask on day 6 to 10.
Test on day 5?
Yes.
Okay,
Because you've already had a positive test to isolate.
I have,
So for quarantining, you have not had a positive.
No, I'm saying, but the isolation one, you've had a positive test.
Right.
So then you have to have a negative.
No.
That you just said on test.
So maybe I said the wrong
That's a quarantine.
So this isolation thing, I've read on the CDC website that up to a third of people will still be positive after day 5. So just so we know what we're, just so we know. what we're
You
doing.
may test positive, but you may not be contagious. So that's why they don't have, when people with COVID, they don't make you test to come back because your test may be
Right.
positive for weeks.
Well, you just said they test on day 5.
So it may be that I used the wrong term to go at night. So I just want to, I'll go back and clarify. So quarantining, meaning your close contact.
Right.
You need to test on day 5 because you've never had a positive test.
Okay.
Isolation, you've already had a positive.
Right.
So you don't have to test again on day 5.
Okay.
Is that
Got
clear?
it.
The other big change is as far as who qualifies for quarantine. So if you're not up to date, meaning if you are eligible for your booster and you didn't have your booster, you would now be in quarantine. It's the household contact. That's the other big change.
So I saw it from January 4th, the DHHS update, it was like a 4-page document. Are you saying, John, that that has been recalled to be updated for schools?
So
Toolkit.
The toolkit, they put out a school toolkit, it's offered guidance, which I wanted to make sure I checked all the boxes on that when we were doing our local plan.
Uh-huh.
That toolkit has been on the website, now they have,
Okay.
said, no, we're changing the ruling, but we're not ready to come out with our new one yet.
Uh-huh.
And so that's in prep, but
correct, but they still have that on. It very clearly lists what the
Yep.
regulations are.
What we would do now would be interim until we get that updated.
you will get an update as soon as we can hear from them and we can make proper adjustments to it.
So for a motion to, adopt those two new dates.
Yes.
I move that we update our reopen, what we are returning and what we still call our reopening plan to reflect the current CDC guidance around isolation and quarantine and when we can return.
DHHS, because they're slightly different, right?
That's
So
right.
at this point, we want to go with DHHS.
DHHS, I am the DHHS guidelines, quarantine and isolation and when we can return.
I second that.
Any discussion? I could see that working with children because experiencing impacts of the 5 days of tonight. Now for adults, since we have no this time. Anyway,
I would agree with you based on experience. But again, you're not, if you're still not feeling well enough to leave, work at school, whatever circumstances, you don't come back after that.
Right.
all right. Anybody else? Okay, Karen?
Yep.
And Eric?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Liz? Yeah, yes, okay.
Okay.
Great, well,
Thank you.
okay, thank you, Melissa. You can
Thank
go
you.
for all your work today.
Sorry, I'm not a better protector.
We're gonna get you a megaphone.
You do that, I use it, Erica.
All right, well, now that's a challenge. The gauntlet has been thrown down and it gets out of my house. It's a win-win. Like, it's never needed this way.
So the next,
Just now.
I know, the agenda review, do we have anything that we need to change on the agenda?
I've lost my agenda.
I would like to take off under the foundation of discussing school board charter and district programs, organizational chart. Just a big technical.
And you're ready to fill the Jason, that's
Yep.
good. All righty, okay, correspondence, the only correspondence I saw, I'm going to talk to Spruce about masking, just to hear everybody else. Any correspondence? Why was this?
Did we get, oh gosh, this goes back to mid-December now. right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Someone asking about comparing with last year. Number. Yeah, it was COVID related. I remember that. Maybe.
That's okay.
We had 8 cases total last.
Well, and I think.
Yeah.
There, you can't compare. 1 year. There was something else that I know I sent to John, but I don't respond to, but you know what, I will.
There's a student who, read spelled.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, this-
Yeah.
okay, yes, I just found that.
He made a good point where he was concerned about some of the ingredients used to serve, yeah, we are rewarding children with candy.
So I did respond, and I also called it.
Yeah, that was the last meeting.
No, I saw, we had a wellness email, 22nd of December. I think that's what date I just.
Yeah.
For the holidays.
And you're right, there's Dan Kern who wrote in about the comparison of cumulative absence of student staff last year and this year.
Oh, I did not get that one.
I don't think we were. No, John and Danielle and you,
Yeah, you're right.
we're not.
I never even looked at the whole list.
I didn't. So.
You know, accidentally getting that talk.
So there you go.
There you go.
That's it.
And then Seth from shit about, I mean, we posted,
We're
but,
gonna talk about that.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And
It's fantasy.
now it's terrible. The principal's report.
Yeah.
If I can do that, I can do that quickly.
It's education.
So Danielle is not with us tonight, but she did submit a report, and there are just a couple of items that I'd like to highlight. Number one, enrollment. We'll modify that format again, sorry. We have those other numbers. She also has a survey request. She did a survey with our faculty and staff, and just sort of the general mid-year check-in. We would like to do a similar, simple survey with families, again, as a mid-year check-in, picking up on friends. She shared with me the survey with faculty and staff, and it was very helpful to look at and to pick out some trends. So she was able to get some feedback on her performance and the direction of the school. I think it can help support her survey with us.
Want to make, we have a sample, this is the survey, the mid-year reflection.
The two-question survey.
Yeah, so if you, I think we should make a motion because this is a policy we have.
Yeah.
To approve them.
Yeah.
So would somebody like to make a motion to approve this mid-year survey as shown in the packet?
I move that we approve this survey to go out to families, this mid-year reflection as presented by Danielle.
Right, discussion? And there, this is, I need to put their name in there, that's interesting. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay, Harry
Yeah.
and Eric,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Liz, and Debbie. Right?
And Danielle just wanted to include that academic support, so we still have a good deal of funding left. We want to spend it carefully, but she wants to be looking at normal out of school time, after hours and school vacations, to provide some additional support with that money. We're not asking for a motion now, just kind of want to give you the heads up, and that will be coming forward, proposal for those grant funds. Harry, I'm sorry, am I loud enough? It is hard, you know. Okay.
This is so loud, this.
Thank you. This is terrible. And the last are the fall NEWA achievement scores. You see those summarized there. Danielle is pleased to be able to have everybody, essentially all the students taking the NEWA. So we have a measure that's consistent as kids go through. That's progress this year that's happening. The scores are, both disappointing and not entirely surprising. They're not awful either.
Right.
Do the teachers feel that these scores reflect where the kids really are?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Just because, I mean, there was learning loss, but there's also the learning curve of taking these tests, which is separate than the information you actually know. So the classroom data may not align as strongly with a computerized data.
I disagree. Let me ask her, I'll let you speak to that next. Let's go down.
I'd also be curious to see how we did against, I don't know, well, compare to kind of comparison as far as schools who were remote all of last year, because we did our
Right,
best.
we were
we did our best
We
to.
were first last year, we can't blame for most part. I didn't think.
Well,
They're not towns.
No, yeah,
Which we're not, but
I thought these years were better than I had it.
well,
Yeah.
if you do, I mean, it's in every grade, it's at least a third, if not in some grades. There is about half of the kids who are not proficient, and this is at 40%, it's 41% and above. So anybody that's
Right,
40.
so what are our typical scores? They worked at 100% for.
Right.
So,
Yeah, but I think they're.
that might be nice data to look at
Right.
the last pool of data that the scores that we have from the fall of 19.
If
So that we're
they're,
actually comparing apples to apples and not speculation.
yeah, I always assumed it was average percentile. This is the first time I've seen
Yeah.
above.
Oh, it's 40%
Right.
and above, which is. And the NEWAs, I think the NEWAs are very adaptive to kids that used to. So,
I think the 40% suggests average and above.
right,
So something like that.
right.
I think that's all I have from Danielle, and we want to get Lisa back on there because she wants to talk about the phone line and the budget with them.
It's almost.
But haven't we turned it off in the past?
Because it's, I know, Carrie, do you know what it should?
You can shut it off.
No, I don't think it was that complicated. I thought it was.
Is there a box? There's some electric box over there. Is it?
It's right. Like elections.
Okay.
I never.
How many school board members does it take to turn off? That's it?
Yeah.
It's
It's gotta be a switch somewhere.
What's that? Oh, that must be the scoreboard switch. That high switch up there.
See anything? Yeah. I remember somebody that they used to show this. I know they do break that ball. All right, okay.
You heard it, I say here, takes responsibility.
Great. Oh, that's advice.
It's not just the reverberation, it's all echoes.
And it's, I really thought it was maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting circulating air was.
Not heat,
Feels
that's for
better,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it's smart, it's just heat.
Hey, really?
This is.
I believe so.
So I feel like that.
Yeah, make sure we don't forget.
All right. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna start again. We have our financial manager online. Harry. Transitioning, okay, so the first thing. Yeah, the first thing we're going to discuss is the phone line provider proposed change, Lisa.
Yes, so I think John, the hard copies of, sorry, I'm hearing myself echo, the paperwork for to have the contract with strictly with NTNT and Consolidated. So trying to move away from First Light, and so it would bring forth many benefits, including streamlining the customer support, being able to save 3 cents per minute on phone calls, and also when we call out, currently when we call out from the phone lines, it can show up differently. It shows up as a different number sometimes, so parents might not pick up, or it might be blocked. So by doing it this way, we will have our main number appear to parents.
So what's the difference in cost? That's what I'm trying to find here.
So the first light call rate is about 7 cents per minute. And consolidated call rate is about 3 cents per minute.
So this is a savings.
Right, it's about,
Okay.
about 3 cents.
No other hidden costs, no monthly fees.
No downside?
Yeah. It just sounds too good to be true. I want to make sure it's true.
It is a 3-year. It is a 3-year plan.
No, so there are no other fees or anything? No.
Not that I'm aware of, but I can double check on that.
Okay, so anybody else have questions? No, are we changing our phone number? I called the old number today and had a weird recording. Do we now, does you have a new number?
No.
Something.
We did have phone issues,
You had phone issues today? Okay,
so I don't think they're resolved yet, but they should be resolved.
okay. So will this mean we'll have a new number or we'll keep the number if we change?
That contract doesn't have anything to do with the AU, that's for the phone system over there.
Okay.
Yes, just two separate.
Okay,
systems, yeah.
thank you. All righty, anybody want to make a motion or questions?
This packet, before it gets public, should be redacted. So all the passwords and magic questions are in here.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
So since we're just seeing the packet now, do people feel comfortable voting on this now, or do we want to do this at the next meeting? What do you want to do?
Well, as long as the recess,
Yeah,
I'm gonna check out, see if there's
any other hidden fees? Yeah, because you know what we usually like? Lisa,
Yes,
we usually
I'm
like
here.
to see a side-by-side comparison, so that we can look at it, you know, like, the provider we have First Light now, if we end up paying $300 a month, blah, 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 and then this consolidated, it would be $200 a month, like, you know, we usually have something side by side.
Okay.
Just to make sure that if we're gonna, we know what we're approving. So you want to maybe do that and find out if there's any other hidden fees or anything for the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay, you good with that? Great. All right. Okay, so next is the budget.
First, I'd like to acknowledge that we didn't do something that you all requested last time, because we'd like to talk to you about that practice. And that is, we combined in our version of the budget, we combined supply accounts in the regular education and in custodians facilities. We like the idea of transparency, and of course, we're open and people are entitled to our records and any of that information. We're happy to put the notes on the side if that would be helpful. But because these are relatively low amounts of money in each of these discrete accounts, by combining them into, for example, in the 1,100 into supplies, you have some flexibility when your needs change or when your priorities change, or even when your teachers change. So if we had the flexibility to call them supplies and be responding to changing needs, that would be helpful. Similarly, in a custodial and maintenance budget, we have separated out things like glass and plumbing supplies and et cetera. There are times when we have to have one of our custodians go to pick up items that are needed quickly. And if a custodian goes into Home Depot or Lowe's and has to purchase a half a dozen different items, half a dozen different accounts. That seems to add unnecessary labor, unnecessary complexity, and it requires an additional labor over in our office with the bookkeeper. We'll be happy to change them. It's not about transparency or trying to do something secretive, but it is rather for flexibility purposes, mainly in terms of the instructional supplies and simply greater efficiency in terms of the custodial supplies. Tell us not to do that again, and we'll get it right this last time. But we were going over the budget again, and folks feel very strongly, and I thought I could bring that forward to you for your final consideration, and I will not talk about it again if you tell me to stop.
I'd like to say I hear what you're saying, and I know it was hard for the new administration this year to keep track of a budget that she didn't create. So that was a difficult thing to do. But when you're creating a budget, we don't put random numbers in there thinking someday we may change what we're ordering. The numbers are based on what we need when we create our budget, not for what we might need. We might change our minds. We might, almost like a slush fund. We have the budgets created by using actual lists of things we need, we know we need to purchase, and we record those things. So I know it may be not as flexible, but it's not supposed to be flexible. It's supposed to be accurate to get, to order, to have the numbers match up with what exactly we need. It would be nice to say, yeah, let's just put $50,000 in there. We'll see what pops up we might need. And I'm not saying people would do that, but that's why we have.
But how can Gary predict that he is going to need to run to the rocks?
Looking at supplies. I'm not looking at I'm looking at the instructional supplies. So that's a different thing. Those are like emergencies, things if a window breaks or something. But these are, we're putting together, okay, we're saying the band, we know that the band, they put in requests. We need to get wreaths, or we need to get whatever sheet music, and then create a list. And that's where that's how this part of the budget is developed. So, I think it was done for transparency, for accountability. So yeah, as far as instructional materials, that part, I'll have to go look at the custodian supplies. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with that. I also think that as a board, we'd be willing to hear throughout the year if there was a request for a change or something, or if there was hey, it's not looking like we need what we thought on this time, but we need something else here. I think we would be open to hearing about that. But I like the individual lines and the transparency and all that associated with it.
I like not making work, and if the BA and administration is asking us to combine it, I don't think there's a compelling reason not to. I don't know that we're ever going to get into a situation where somebody says, gee, $1,800 for art supplies. I don't think that's how the budget runs. I don't think that's how people think. That's my 2 cents. I think efficiency for the BAs is much more important at this point.
I'm looking at this custodial supplies also here.
Yeah, and actually,
That's at the top of that page.
That's paid.
yeah, and that.
Going off the one right
that
next
does
to
not-
Okay, hold on. It's the second or third.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one
Second
does
to
not
last page.
any real prices of the big ticket items. It looks like, I'm not sure about this, but it looks like, we may have had lines that were larger, and then we had smaller lines, like you were talking about the glass, lumber, hardware, electrical, and plumbing. But then there was a larger one last year, where I know that we spent a lot of money with the floor products. I think that was pretty costly. So, but it doesn't even have a breakdown of where $20,000 should go. I mean, the instructional is $42,000. That's a lot. And that's not textbooks. Those are just supplies.
Okay, well, we hear you. We'll make those adjustments then in the next version. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, did you want me to continue?
The other things that were changed, were there other things that were changed, Lisa?
Oh, so in terms of dollar amounts, I had to make a revision to the superintendent's salary. And it looks like on our previous discussion, I had to update to the athletic stipend. So I need to remove the amount that I had moved to under the dean of students. I can remove that.
I
And
did
then,
notice that this year on the, oh, I'm sorry.
so that's okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I did
so then
notice it on the Cole-Brown tuition line.
Yep.
We are only anticipating 4 students instead of 5, which has been typically done, which that's the bottom of the first page, the very last first page. Just that that's a change.
I don't think we changed that. I mean, I think maybe from the original, the first budget we proposed, we may have put in 5 students. But I know that when we sat down with our team, we looked at that again, and then we felt comfortable with 4.
No, we always budget 5. We need to include 5. Because that's very expensive, and if we have extra money in that line, then that's fine, but if we don't have enough.
Especially because we haven't heard from the homeschool kids, right?
Right.
They were 8th graders
Yeah.
in May. That was quite a big pocket of homeschool 8th graders who might opt to go. Although maybe they know by now. Did headmaster, does that go in the fall? Does headmaster ask that in the fall? I can't
I
remember.
thought it was in January that we usually have to sign their paperwork.
I haven't seen anything come
Over,
through
that
yet.
usually happens in January.
Right. And those are forms that we create, I've been told, right?
Right.
Because I've asked for revisions of them for a couple of years, and I was told that was on us.
Something else I saw. Yeah, what are the other things, Lisa? I know that Zach gave us this report, which I'm a little confused by his report, to be honest with you, and I don't know if we're gonna review that, but, in the line where it is his software and equipment and all that, I think there was like $79,000. Okay, that line needs to have what he's ordering in the, you might think, well, that's gonna take up too much space. We don't care how many pages the budget is, as long as we have all the notes we need. So when we see $79,000, people will say, well, what are you buying for $79,000? And then we say, 50 Chromebooks, 2 whatever. So we sort of list what we're purchasing.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely update the notes on there. I know that separate report that he had submitted, the Excel sheet, broke down that 79,000. And I will say, a big portion of that cost is the total cost of replacing all the Chromebooks. And that would be like if you were to replace them all at one time. So I don't think that's the plan, is to kind of gradually replace them over time.
Did anybody else see anything else in this budget that was different or something we wanted corrected from the last time or?
I just have I have a general question. I see a lot of things. I assume they're all student-specific needs, a lot of the stuff in the 1200 line and whatnot. And that's, I guess my question is it based on specifically student needs, or now that we have a new administration, is the direction changing?
No, those are based on identified student needs, so we
Okay.
have those real people here now.
Understood. It's just seeing it for the first time. I didn't know.
Yep.
Right, so last year, I'm just checking my memory here. Last year, we were asked to budget for a potential out of district that never materialized. And we had taken that out of, we are no longer putting in a placeholder
Yes,
with the thought it might happen. That's accurate, correct?
that's correct.
Just wanted to double check.
Okay, and we're going to look at that line. It is in the 2320 section, that computer software line. We want to check on that number. What was included last year, what we're going to include in the number that you have there, if it's the right number, and then spell it out in the notes.
Yeah.
I did have a
Okay,
question
right.
on,
Yeah, thank you.
on the guidance line, there's a, the health plan is based on the current health plan of the employee. I know that we kind of go back and forth sometimes as well. Planning for the family, budgeting for the family plan versus budgeting for what we actually have at the moment. Do we feel comfortable sticking with the plan to say right now? Because I know it's not the full.
Which line?
2120. 50 211 001.
That reflects the current individual and the current status of the individual.
I just wanted to see if we are all comfortable with that, not having that actual full family plan.
Whatever the current, what John says.
Okay.
That's right. There is, you did remind me of something. I don't know if it was changed, Lisa. I think in under the VA office.
Oh, the
business
description.
office, I think. Yeah, well, I think oh, let me just look at this. Where is it? Where's the business administration office?
2520.
What's the number?
2520.
25. I think we talked about this last time. Okay. Okay. No, that one's right. Okay, you did change that. You did change that.
Right.
Yes, that was right. Thank you.
Yep,
I
you're
just
welcome.
had that in my notes. We talked about.
I have a question about line repairs and maintenance to the building, which is 2620 5430 001. That's a $50,200. I'm wondering if we could get that broken up into where that's all anticipated to go. I see a lot of it is usual expenses and whatnot, but
Sure,
I don't see that.
I can break that down.
it's the third page from the back, the bottom line, repairs and maintenance to building.
If you're looking, okay.
Not seeing the number. Can you just be- Okay, here it is. Okay, so, repairs and maintenance. So the building, the $50,000.
Yeah, just to see
Okay,
that
so-
broken up.
3 windows, 12. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So because all that's listed is the $12,000. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can break down the detailed list of that cost.
Some of it might be helpful if you look at the notes from last year's. Because it will give you an idea of like, you know,
I'm not sure.
what we included. Yeah, right, you're right. But at least if you did have like, yeah.
We've never actually replaced any windows. We've always had that goal,
Right.
and it's been in the budget for,
I know.
I think you would have,
that's always been like, had to go somewhere else, especially the last couple of years.
Right.
you brought that up at the last
We
meeting.
did bring it up at the last meeting. Because we have the money in the line for it.
We wanted to wait till the spring to see how our budget looked.
Yeah.
Right, and do 2 instead of 3, maybe, or something, but do what you can, yeah.
We
And
did,
all of it, well, especially this is old one. I mean, it's tough.
we did move ahead with, was it the freezer door?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that was, that's going forward.
here we has to do this all the time.
Yeah.
He's a master at it. And things don't get done, but things come up, especially the last couple of weeks, and that's how it does it. So,
So is there anything else that we need to check on this budget that we noticed last time, maybe we had to change the wording of, or everybody's okay? I think I went through all my notes, and I think
I did too.
we're gonna find out about electricity, right? Okay.
Yeah, so I was gonna look
So
into the cost to see what we paid so far this year.
Okay, now, it was brought to my attention, the electricity, I don't know if I'm gonna share this with you guys. That this winter, it's gonna go away. And then it's gonna come back to Earth in the spring. That's because of natural gas. And Mike Hamilton gave me the heads up on this. And so I don't think we can go by comparison last year. I think we're just gonna be paying sky high electric bill for the winter. And then, so I don't know, I would cushion it from last year a little bit.
okay. So what does he think?
If you look at the
An
normal,
additional, like 10% or something?
Are you saying winter right now?
Yeah, yeah.
See, that has nothing to do with the budget for next year, or
Right,
is this an annual thing that in the winter?
you're right.
it's gonna go up?
Oh, okay,
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Thank you.
all right.
You're right. But anyway, we're gonna spend a lot of money on electricity.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I can see it in your own bill. Yeah.
Okay, so anybody else have any other questions about the budget? I think so hopefully at our next meeting, will be our last.
Has to be a
It's got to be, otherwise we're gonna have to have another meeting.
But these issues are nothing like we've had to deal with in the past for issues overall,
Right.
like these corrections. So I think
No, yeah.
there's a definite
You're right.
improvement, thank you,
Yes,
on top of everything else you're dealing with
yes,
for,
thank you.
within this,
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, do you need to talk to us about the plan that Zach submitted, that report? Is somebody gonna review that with us?
I made notes on that. There's a lot of information and I have some questions.
Ideally, we'll have Zach here.
Okay.
We can invite him next time to
Okay.
go through the details of that.
Yeah, one of the things I just want to say, and I know probably Lisa, you maybe have something to do with this, because it has to do with keeping track of, the things that we own. And there seems to be a lot of missing and unaccounted for Chromebooks that he lists.
Mhm.
Like 200 of them.
24.7.
but without dates, right?
Yeah,
Like for these ones that were sent home and distributed in March of 20, that's just, we never accounted
That's what
for.
I think happened.
Yeah, so that is,
Kind of a panic mode.
Yeah.
yeah,
A lot of them might be obsolete.
Right.
Also,
Yeah.
but that doesn't.
Especially if they're Chromebooks, yeah.
That-
I mean, I think we have some type of policy to keep track of all of our technology hardware. So that we should have, sort of have like, know where they are. Even, so people checking it out somehow have like the number that's on them, the serial number or something. We must keep track of all the things we own, right?
We should.
Okay.
I see that has happened.
Okay,
You do have a policy in that regard that your property needs to be inventoried.
right.
I,
Okay, so,
I do know at least one was serialized when it went out.
okay. So anyway, I just think, just looking at that, that was like a big highlight that hit me, and I don't know who, but we'll ask Zach about that, what we're gonna do, so that doesn't happen in the future.
I think that would be helpful. to have.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so we will review that tonight then. We're done with that report. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
She's in a trance.
Oh,
Yeah.
fit.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
You're right.
Please go.
I was gonna say, all right, now we have the superintendent.
All right, well, let me see how, I think this will be too lengthy. So we have 3 staff resignations offered. One, Patty Burnell, cafeteria worker, food service program, who was with us over 20 years, a longtime employee. A second is Katie Spatafora, a paraprofessional who joined us this year. And as you know from a previous conversation, she's leaving us to go back to college, which we're very happy about. You may want to accept those 2 first. And then a third is Eileen Glode, a special education teacher, who is requesting release from her contract.
We want to have a motion for the first 2?
I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Patty Burnell and Katie Spatafora. And with deep regret.
Second,
Okay, we wish them both well and thank them for their service.
Yeah, Katie jumped in and we're really in need back in the fall.
Thank you, both of you.
Okay, Carrie,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Erica,
yes,
Liz, and
Yes.
Debbie, yes. All
Thank
right.
you.
And now for the other teacher who's, special ed teacher who's under contract, current contract, we have a motion or anything to say about that?
So we have advertised for this position since Ms. Glode indicated her desire to move on from the district and accept another position. She has been advised that that typically does not occur so simply, and that the school board has in the past required individuals who signed a contract for the year to live out the terms of that agreement. I, of course, totally support that position, and I've advised Ms. Glode of that. If you accepted her resignation with the provision that a suitable replacement is hired, I think we could live with that. But otherwise, I think I would not be inclined to give her a release from her contract at this time.
Okay, so if we would like to make a motion, the board would like that we would accept her resignation based on the fact that we have to find a suitable replacement before we will release her from her contract. Then someone can do that.
I move that we accept the resignation of Eileen Glode, I apologize. To be effective once the position is filled by a qualified candidate.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Asking her to remain is per written policy, is per written board policies, just so we're clear, we're not just,
And per the signed contract.
and yes,
Okay,
I did share that policy with Ms. Glode, so.
okay, Carrie,
Yes.
Eric,
yes.
Erica?
Yes,
Liz?
Yes.
And Debbie, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
2 nominations. We have first Sandra Caravan, who has begun substituting in our open 5-6 position. As you may know, Sandra has been an employee here at the school district and has been served in a long-term subbing role in the past. And we're very, very happy and fortunate to have Sandra available and willing to do this.
Her resume is so impressive.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Okay, would someone like to make a motion to accept this nomination?
I make the motion that we accept the nomination of Sandra Caravan as the 5/6 teacher for a salary
Yes.
for $23,055 coming out of the local operating budget.
Okay, we have a second
Second,
and questions or discussion.
Science,
Excuse me?
she's gonna be science.
No, but she has a science background, yeah. And that budget, that salary rate is based on a master's step one prorated to a daily rate of $219.57 with 105 days remaining in the school year. Okay, anybody else?
What kind of a teacher is she?
5, 6,
6.
I'm not sure. Is she,
Grades 5 and
is
6.
she a language arts or what is she?
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I think it is language arts, but
Yeah.
I couldn't be 100% sure.
She's not science and she's not math.
Is she a certified teacher?
No.
Okay. And
Pardon me?
is she gonna be?
I don't know.
Is she what?
Is she going to?
is she going for certification? Is she alting in?
Oh, okay.
So she's just being a substitute?
Substitute,
Okay.
long-term substitute.
So long-term,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's not a permanent position, no. I'm sorry, I should have explained that. Long-term substitute, she is willing to serve in that position for the remainder of the school year. And presumably at the end of the school year, she would return next year to her previous role, paraprofessional.
Okay, good.
Okay. We didn't vote on this.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was reading her resume. They're so impressive. Okay, Carrie,
Yes.
Eric,
yes.
Erica?
Yes,
Liz?
Yes.
And Debbie, yes. Okay.
And the second nomination would be for school board secretary, and Sheila has been serving in this position for the past several meetings. We discussed this last time and proposed that she continue in this role.
Like to make a motion?
I make a motion that Sheila Dupierre be the school board secretary. I'd like to thank her for stepping up to that position. And
Okay, do we have a second?
second.
Okay, all right, discussion? And what did we say? It was $200?
$200 a meeting.
A meeting, okay.
it's a part of it.
We probably should have included that in the motion, but just to clarify, at a rate of $200 per meeting. Okay,
And that includes doing the minutes.
it's
Yeah.
flat rate.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's easy to budget for.
Yeah.
All righty, Carrie,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Erica?
Yes,
Liz?
Yes.
And Debbie, yes.
Great, thank
And thank you, Sheila. You're
Yes,
doing
thank
great.
you.
Okay.
And the school district's warrant. So I drafted the warrant out. I did not put the amounts in. I replicated, I believe, based on your discussion, the contributions to the 2 capital reserve funds, should there be available funds. And confirm that 2 school board members need to be elected.
Simple.
Okay. So,
Simple, should be a 10-minute meeting.
right, so we can't actually approve this until we have the numbers, right? So,
Does that look okay otherwise?
yes, does everybody, does it look okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I thought
It's never been that simple.
I was just gonna, I feel like I'm missing something. I keep
Yeah.
looking at it saying, no, you're missing
We
something.
had a monkey then come in.
Well, it's either the withdrawal, then we have teacher contracts, or we have the
We-
roof, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
So this is.
that's what I'm saying.
Hopefully we'll have a nice meeting.
Is there a deadline for like public can bring a warrant out?
The petition warrant articles.
Yes.
We had that.
That
ready.
30, we had that, the last meeting. It would probably be around our budget hearing because it's, I think is it 28 days before the,
It's pretty late. I'll have to look at
Here
it.
we go.
But there is,
Prescribed amount.
Um,
do you have it?
Okay, this was based on our meeting date of March 8th, so subtract 3 days from this. So according to this, the last day for a petition warrant article would be February 3rd.
Yes.
Not later than 30 days
Yeah.
before the date prescribed for the school district meeting.
And I think that is the day of our budget,
Budget.
right, February 3rd?
Yeah.
So it would be by our budget. meeting. Okay.
Second.
It's a second?
Second.
Oh, thank you. Okay. All righty. Now, the other thing we have to talk about, I know that we have our school district clerk here, but we need to talk about the voting.
That's right.
I guess about cards and all that kind of thing.
Yes,
Keisha, you want to talk to us?
Hey, Keisha.
Hi. Yeah, so I was contacted by Terry March, and she said that the town intends to do voting like they did last year, which allowed people to stay in their cars, listen to the meeting, and place votes through their car or in their car. It took a lot of work. Erica and I were chickens with our heads cut off because it was sprung on us very last minute. And so I wanted to get ahead and get the decision from you folks if we were going to also offer the same voting method about the voting in the car as we did last year, or if we're going to go the traditional route.
What does the board think about that?
I don't think it's a bad idea to have that option.
I was just gonna say, I would like to plan for it because we don't know what March is
Right.
going to look like and we
Right.
don't want to be
Right.
caught like we were last time scrambling.
Totally agree.
There's definitely, it wasn't some sort of emergency authorization that allowed that. This is something that can happen
Good point.
under a normal
Right.
year because we're not under
Right.
a state of emergency anymore.
We're not, okay.
It would-
I'll check on that. I'm going off of what the town information that they are moving forward.
Yeah.
And then other pieces of information is the FM transmitter that we use actually belongs to the town. So we have to get permission from them to use these things. So I'll find out if it's something we can do or if that was specific to the state of emergency, but I'm sure Terry's pretty on that.
Right.
So, why don't we make a motion to accept it if it's allowed? If people are in agreement with that, so that Keisha can, I think she wants to put it on the town calendar, she's got to do a lot of
Yeah, there's
legwork,
gather the
organizing.
volunteers, because you still have to register people. I
Right.
mean, it's still the same for people who
Correct.
didn't experience it last year.
Right,
We're not cutting any corners.
right.
You're still showing your ID and register, like all the same procedures. You just essentially have car service for your ballot.
Right.
Yeah, and Kurt, our school moderator, is also part of this conversation because he runs the show essentially. So he's gonna have to be filled in on the whole plan. So starting the plan now is important.
Right.
Because
And that-
we have him involved.
The next
And-
6 weeks are gonna fly. before it
Yeah,
gets-
and last year Erica was a huge help, but I think having two people on the board volunteer with setting this plan in motion would be even more help, handy if we go this route.
Okay. All right, so why don't we have the motion first, if we're willing to go that way, if it's allowed, not just because last year we were under emergency order. And then we can talk about it, who'd like to volunteer, if anybody wants to. They want to make a motion?
I move that we make plans, assuming if it is allowed and was not part of an emergency order for the 2021 voting, that we make plans and set things in motion to be able to facilitate and support people with card voting for the 2022
District.
voting district meeting.
I second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, and thank you, Keisha. All righty, Eric,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
and Debbie, yes. All right, secondly, are there any board members that would like to help? No, knowing that you really can't help that day because you're gonna be involved in a meeting, but help to set up, organize volunteers and things like that. Anyone want to do
I
that?
can help.
Liz, anybody else?
Yeah, because I remember coming in early and taking temperatures and stuff, but that was really kind of a bogus thing. It really didn't work.
Well, I think she may need help like organizing, finding volunteers.
Well, it's, yeah, and there were hidden things like, because Keisha was new and didn't know, and there was no manual left for her. We got here voting day and didn't have a ballot box. Because the clerk typically goes to town hall and picks that up. So there's some running around, and I don't know if that can be done the night before, or if it has to stay in town hall until that day. So there might be some running around, like, I'm just speculating, Keisha, I'm just trying to think of things we ran into last year. We didn't bring pencils.
Right.
We have to bring our own pencils. We didn't know any of that. So we literally were going through classrooms and getting pencils for voting. Because we didn't know at the time.
Pencils available.
Right.
Okay.
And then there was a discussion on all of our volunteers, whether they have to take an oath or not.
Right, but Kurt was able to do that.
Yeah. And, yeah, so, but Kurt needs to be brought into this conversation because as the moderator, he's really the decision makers in all of this.
So the two people that have volunteered to help you are Carrie and Liz.
I'm happy to have them.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Keisha.
Yeah, a lot of volunteers.
We did get,
We did last
yeah,
year.
we had more than.
And that was a last minute scramble, so I think planning ahead, that's not gonna be as hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Okay. All righty. John, do you have anything else?
Nope, just to highlight that you have the NASDAQ enrollment projections. I don't have any experience with them. It's an FYI at this point. The school board charter and org chart will bring forward next time. COVID-19, we already discussed, and the goal setting and plan, we did that in a workshop. So I
Good.
think I'm all set.
Is this our last NASDAQ? That we get, right, because we enrolled in it when we were with 44, and there was I mean,
I don't remember.
historically, there were people who felt that this was very valuable information, and we were pushed to buy into the system again.
I
So
don't
I'm
know.
just
It's something
wondering.
to reevaluate. The one thing about this is
But if all we're gonna do is get it in our packet and glance over, it's not worth
It's
the
not worth it.
$1,000 that we're paying for it.
No,
I think
I
that-
agree. And I also think it's hard for me to look at this. First of all, they haven't been totally accurate in the past, but it's also Strafford is so different in that we
Yeah.
have so much conservation land. So where is any development going to happen?
Right.
Where are people, if you're going to predict, if you were in another town maybe and the land wasn't protected, and I'm happy that the land's protected, but I'm just saying, in other towns, you could sort of predict the growth, but if you don't know how much of our land is actually protected, how could?
If you don't know that, I mean, my road has grown exponentially in ways that I didn't, 10 years ago, I would have told you, well, that's not buildable.
Right,
There's now 8 or 10 houses in the past year there, so.
right.
We are different in that we have no major routes, no commercial.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can be,
It was
I
no
don't know.
business space,
I
yeah.
don't know that we can be as easily predicted as other towns are by same size, same population of
Right.
anything.
And I know we were, during the withdrawal committee, we had a member that really talked about, something I had never thought about, but different towns have actually, their road access to back property is much more developed than ours. Like we have some roads, but then there are hundreds of acres
Right.
that you can't
Can't
get
get
to.
to,
yeah.
It's all protected.
Yeah.
So we just don't have the infrastructure, I guess, the road infrastructure.
Yeah, but
That's some
you don't
places.
know where we'll be in 10 years,
Right.
right? I mean, someday they are actually going to win an opening crossroad.
Yeah.
And it comes up every 2 years. So 10 years from now, we could have more access, but I don't know that this is gonna help us. I don't know that we use this for budgeting.
I agree.
Which I think is what it was supposed to be meant for, is so you can do some long-term budgeting predictions.
Right.
I don't find it a useful tool for that.
I don't find it useful either because I think it's not accurate. I mean, you could see that it wasn't accurate. But anyway, we can look at that at another time.
Sure.
I don't know if we've even budgeted, we didn't budget for it, so.
No,
I guess that was my question. Maybe that's where my question
I'll
was
check
going.
on the membership, the length of the membership. I
Right.
contacted them when I got their letter back in the fall. And I said, are we members of your organization? They said, oh, yes, you're members. We'll do this and it's not going to cost you anything. I said, well, it's not costing anything.
Right.
Well, sure.
We'll take it. So I'll contact them to see where we stand. I've never worked with this before. I don't think it's necessary either.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we have the community calendar.
Yeah.
When is that due?
Oh,
you
like
guys do like-
Saturday.
Oh. I wonder if you're gonna be able to know by then if you can do the car voting for the district meeting. Because that would be a good piece of information to put in there.
I was.
Well, at the very least, you can say, like the town, we're exploring it.
We're
Let's do
restart, yeah.
that. Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, at least mention it.
That's a legal item,
Um,
if it was only emergency.
Yeah, let's do that, exploring the opportunity.
This comes out roughly the 25th, the 26th of January,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Maybe we might want to mention that we're on the 26th, we're going to be talking about February vacation. I know it's not, it's a little bit of a heads up to people. Might not be much.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna be talking about February vacation, but that's just a thing that if for some reason a catastrophic thing happens and we have 20 teachers out for a week, we're not gonna be able to have school. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so then we
okay,
have to figure out,
okay.
what are we gonna do? I'm hoping that that doesn't happen.
It would be a casualty response to deal with.
Yeah,
it.
let
It
it
would
go.
be planned. Okay, okay, but never mind.
It would be better to have the vacation than
Well, then people get
close
their
to school.
Right.
fingers in a twist.
Exactly,
and pick up their
exactly.
copies
That's,
of 28.
well,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
all right,
True.
anything else in the calendar?
Come to the budget hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, reaffirm the dates of the budget
And,
hearing.
do you send her the separate list of dates as well?
Yeah, Eric and
I-
Like the article
do
and
it
then
as an article.
a separate little listing of dates?
We've been,
Like I always-
we've been including it as the write-up, the one thing.
Okay, and maybe she pulls it out. I always, like, in the bottom listed out
You
dates
know,
and where we were going to be.
this time it might be good to do like minutes, so that the dates stick out.
Yeah.
And the times. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
We'll set it up.
Especially because
differently.
it's the budget hearing
Yeah.
coming up.
Yep.
Well, and that there are 2 open positions and that,
Oh, yeah. Well,
and the
By
town
the time
meeting
that comes
date.
out, probably the
yeah,
date
that's
is-
19th through the,
That's,
Oh, you're right, you're right, you're right.
that
By
might
the
be
time
too
it
late.
comes
I
out,
think,
yeah.
I think we mentioned that
Yeah.
last month.
yeah,
We did mention it.
28th.
But budget hearing and district meeting, you
I have
can
that.
go in two months in a row with the date of the district hearing.
we did that, yeah, we'll do that for sure. Or in the car voting.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Next, we're not doing school board policies today. Committee updates. Policy committee,
We are so close, we have met, I'm just gonna start talking here.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
We've met, we have set up a calendar for ourselves from now until June with targets for each meeting. We have a tendency to bite off more than is appropriate to do in one meeting. So we're gonna try to cool our jets on that and really stay focused. We're pretty much through students, and then I think we're going back to the beginning. Right?
I got a
And
second.
I've already forgotten, but anyway,
Yep.
we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And very close, we've been wordsmithing and really putting a lot of effort and thought to JABA, the transgender support policy. Making sure that we get it right, but also being concise, because big wordy policies aren't helpful.
Yep.
And you're comparing others.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we started with Oyster River and
Okay.
we trimmed a lot of it to make it essential, just the essential part. To make sure it's supportive of students and protecting us from a liability standpoint if maybe somebody inferred something a little bit different. So that's what we're going for there.
Can I say something? I'd like to thank these 2 guys.
yeah,
Oh, I know.
My God.
that's wonderful.
It's like, whoa. Big old wall.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, and it's one of these situations where you don't realize what you have perhaps not been doing as well as you should have until you start doing it right.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
We're doing everything right now.
Yeah. When you're picking up little bad cues
Mhm.
from, yeah, so.
All righty. Any other committee?
We're gonna have an athletic committee on the 20th.
Okay. Right, anybody else? Nope. Okay. All righty. So, other, do we have any others?
Not for me.
The only other is, the board had a workshop meeting today with, our superintendent, and it was wonderful. We went over, the board met last summer. When did we meet? Was it-
August. August.
And we had a workshop, and we created goals. John took those goals, worked with the administration, worked now with the staff. They came up with some areas to apply to the different goals, and John's taken on this incredible task. It's gonna be what did you have, this year, next year, then you have like a 5-year plan?
And then
Or was it a
10 to 10.
A 10-year plan.
It's scary to see 2031 written.
Yeah,
Crazy, isn't it?
yes, and so we're trying to keep John here to finish the 10-year plan. And so we're hoping
Right?
that at
Takes
least
around
monthly,
11.
we'll get we'll put that on the agenda. Sheila, if you help me remember that too, to have that on the agenda, maybe, what should we call it? A goals update or something?
Something.
Yeah.
Let me think about that.
Think of something, so just to remind us to keep touching base with, progress.
I'll add that to the calendar too.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
This is the upside of having not only say.
It's everything, I mean, it's sort of been difficult for everybody in charge. But to watch all the mistakes corrected, it's frustrating for, I think, the superintendent and for staff, but I think it's neat to actually have things
A
done.
year from now, imagine the conversation we're having for the, getting ready for the 23 district meeting. It's gonna be very different.
Yes. We're also hoping to have an update about our, maybe at our next meeting, about the audit, because we're hoping to have a report for our district meeting booklet. And also an update on the funds that the SAU 44 has of ours. Okay.
Just one more thing, because I know we talked about the update for the skylights and whatnot for the roof. I don't know, Carrie, do you think we should have this meeting? That's 26th. So we'll have our facilities meeting,
Yeah.
26th, and
Yeah.
any update we could have on any of that stuff at that time, be great.
Do you want to 4 o'clock? What's good for you? Flexible.
I think we've been doing 3 o'clock.
You good with 3?
I think we've been doing that again. I can,
Okay, that's, okay. Let's do it. All right.
I can still do.
You
3
can go.
o'clock. Yep.
No,
That's fine. Yep.
Okay, so now we have the approval of minutes. First, we have December 8th.
I
Okay,
have a correction on line 160.
okay, do you want to first,
do you wanna go-
make a motion
Oh, I'm
first
sorry.
to accept the minutes,
Yeah.
and then we'll go
Sorry.
through one, or whatever? Anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes, both public and non-public, from the December 8th, 2021 school board meeting.
A second,
Second.
okay, discussion?
Okay, on line 160. We were discussing the mobile vaccine clinic being offered in Nottingham. I think Melissa said that the information was not shared.
What line was that, Liz? I'm sorry.
160. and maybe-
160?
We just shared, she just shared the information. We didn't have any role in facilitating the clinic.
Okay,
Just we
I
shared
misread
the-
that.
Oh, yeah, shared. Yeah, I remember asking that question.
Okay. I misinterpreted that.
Oh, it's because it's double worded that stated that the district shared that the district did share.
Right,
Yeah.
I got very
Yeah.
confused, sorry.
Yep, no,
We can fix that.
Yeah, just take out the shared that the district, right?
All right, anything else? December 8th, public?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Well, although we did say it in public. I think that's when we stopped the conversation, right?
all right.
Where is it? What line? The-
197, 198.
A little concerned that
Yeah, that should be there. Is that what
Yeah.
you're talking about? Okay.
security.
Safety committee.
sorry.
Okay, so what the concern is,
Oh, no.
there was a concern that there are two lines in there that after they were said, we realized we shouldn't be sharing that information because it may impact the security of the building. So do you think we should strike those two lines?
Yes.
Okay, can we strike line 197 and 98, please? I know we said them, but to actually put them in writing too is good for us.
Oh, you're right. See, this is, look, if you look at 194, this isn't really an edit. But back to our Windows conversation, we did make a direction around Windows last meeting.
Yeah,
Yep, and that was to be
Right.
scheduled to be assessed. I thought the discussion was to,
we asked to have the window project.
Completed within this budget.
Okay, what we said is, could Gary put that project off until the spring and we'll have a better idea what the budget, if we have the money for it.
Mhm.
So, it's basically what we would add to that line is if the money is in the budget. Because we wanted to wait till the last minute to make sure we had the money for that, for those windows, and we would have a better understanding of how much money we had in our budget for the spring. Okay,
there was
That's
also,
not if the budget allows.
if the budget allows.
there was also, a consensus given to move ahead with the freezer door, and I don't think I see that here.
Oh, I see, there was something
Oh,
about breaker
Oh, proposed freezer door repair.
on one.
That was in the facility committee update. Window placements.
I don't think we did an official vote on it.
No, because it was,
Because it had to be
it
done.
was already in the budget
Yeah.
line, and he was essentially asking, can we still go ahead with this?
Debbie, is your name misspelled throughout?
Yes, and I just let it go because it's spelled, well, it's different ways. Sometimes it's I, sometimes it's I. It's
There's no
really, it's yes,
DEBVI.
right. You could ask my mother why she did that, but that's what she did. All right. Okay, anybody else have anything? Good, okay. All righty, so, your motion, did it include just public or was it?
No, I said non-public.
Okay, any questions, non-public, fine? Okay, all set? Okay, so the motion is to accept with the changes just corrected, both public and non-public. Okay, Carrie?
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Right, okay. And Eric,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Liz, and
Yes.
Debbie. Okay. Alrighty, so. Summary of action items, Liz, you wanna review that?
Well, we talked about the calendar, what we're gonna do there. Carrie and I are going to help Keisha with the car
Car voting.
voting, see if that's going on. I think that's. Anything else?
We had some corrections to the budget.
Okay.
And I think we're going to have Zach discuss his
Plan for.
plan at the next meeting. We're gonna have more information about consolidated that Lisa's going to get for us, and then we're gonna do a little comparison to, I think it's First Light that we have now,
Yeah.
just to see what the cost savings is. And I felt like there was something else we were gonna.
Mentioned the skylights.
Yeah. And the update on the,
The accounting software. Accounting software.
And I noticed it when we were looking over the
would be nice.
minutes, the generator for the modular, we talked about that last time. Maybe we could get an update on that next time. I know it's a little bit out of order saying it right now, but
Okay, so it's because if that generator goes out,
we
if
don't,
the
we,
electricity goes out, the pipe will freeze.
there's nothing, there's no
Right.
heat, it's electric heat over there.
Okay.
So that's important.
Alrighty, okay, public comments. Only one public here, okay. Alrighty, so set future board meetings. We have January 26th, that will be our last meeting with our budget.
Right,
Everything will be done.
but our budget hearing's the 2nd, right?
Why
Yes.
why does it say February 9th here? You
That's
said-
No, our budget is February 2nd.
Okay, so that is,
It's a week ahead.
yeah, all right. We also had a snow date for that, which
Yeah.
should include.
And then the district meeting is the 5th, which is a Saturday.
Okay, so the February 2nd will be our budget hearing, snow date of February 3rd. Now, as far as any other meeting in February, we would probably just see at that point when we wanted to do that. I mean, I would assume we would have one, but I don't know if we would keep it at the 9th, since we're just having one on the 2nd, or if we're moving to the 16th.
Right, because the weekend, our second meeting, what would traditionally be our second meeting in February, I think would land in February vacation. We have often not held that one.
So most likely, we would want a meeting before the district
this-
meeting, just to
Right, so
organize.
the 16th makes sense. That's out from the budget meeting and doesn't hit February vacation. Right.
We can,
But
we can talk
do
about that.
now.
Yeah, we can talk about that. All right. But we do know that March 9th, yeah, so we want to have, okay, so we don't have the hearings on. What is March 9th?
March 9th.
That's
March 9th was going to be our snow
So
date.
Wednesday after.
It's our snow day.
Yeah,
It's a regular meeting.
it's our regular
Regular
meeting, but it would be our snow day, and if we have our meeting Saturday, we don't know.
When's the election?
I think
It would probably be the
Eighth,
8th,
Tuesday, the
so
8th.
most
Second
likely we
Tuesday,
wouldn't
the
have a
9th.
meeting on the 9th. Most likely, we would wait till the 16th, because anybody,
Because
if
you
there's
can't
anybody new,
swear
you
in.
have to swear people in.
real.
And then they swear in, usually, well, I swore in at town meeting, which will be the 12th.
Well,
Yeah, because it has to be, I don't know, if it's 72 hours after the election to make sure that it's not challenged.
Right,
There was, there's.
Some type of time,
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out 72 hours, I'm not sure it's,
but by the time the town meeting comes,
yeah.
that time is up, because that's my year, that's where we got signed in. So that's sworn
I
in.
should plan on the 9th, March 9th.
Possibly, unless if you really want to.
You get me out of here.
Let's see how you feel after the district meeting. You might not want that. You might be taking up your heels. All right. Okay, anything else? We have a motion.
Carrie,
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
never take that one.
Okay, Carrie, yes, and.
Yes, yeah.
Eric, Catherine,
Yeah,
Debbie,
yeah,
yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
thank you.
I don't.
Liz seconded.
Liz.